Today is July 7 and it's 5:10 p.m. 2018. This is Steve Breaker. We're going to take a look at the grow bag garden that I put in. Most of it was in by May 30th, but some of it was the first week in June. We're going to show you what the current status of the garden is. So we're going to go into the garden now. What I've done a little different here is with my raised garden with the beans. I weeded the beans, and then I cut my grass, bagged it, and put the grass clippings down just for mulch, keep the weeds out. So they'll be taken off here pretty soon. Other years I would dump out my potting mix and put it in this corner in my garden. So I thought, you know what, I'll just pull up the weeds, rake it over, and I had some extra plants I could throw in. If they grow, they grow. If they don't, they don't. I don't really care, but if they do, which they probably will take off and go, I threw a couple flowers in just to something a little different. And let's see. If you walk through this area, this is my new expansion. Basically, it's about 8 foot out, 25 foot long. And this is where all the runners are going to go for the squash. And then up at this end I've got sunflowers. You know, they seem to be doing quite well, but again, I'm not really doing much with the sunflowers. They grow like weeds. And then I had some flowers in here last year, mostly irises, but there are some other things here too. And they seem to be doing quite well. I put in a lot of new ones last fall, and they seem to have taken off and grow. I got to weed that a little bit. Now we're going to go over and take a look at the newest addition to the grow bag garden. This is another raised bed. Again, I threw in a lot of extra things that I just didn't know if it would take off. I put an extra row of radishes in for the wife. She likes radishes. And then there's 9. Let's see, there's 9 broccoli plants I get from a greenhouse. I was just getting rid of them, so I threw those in. They're probably going to take off and go. So there's 9 broccoli plants here that are in. And in between, I put some potatoes in. These are some different type of potatoes, and everything but one hill came up. So the potatoes are growing, and we'll see what happens there. And then I put a few flowers in down next to this seeded rhubarb plant. Looks kind of rough now, but in the spring that thing comes up just as green as can be. So I thought, well, let it seed out. Okay, going over to this bed. This is one of the grow bag beds. This is a yellow tomato plant here. Already got tomatoes on it, you can see down here. And I've got some kind of a spray you can spray on the blossoms, and it really produces a lot. So we got that going. Walking over my hoses here. And then I've got 2 zucchini plants here. This is one that has not blossomed out yet. It's growing like crazy. It's a little bit of a lighter yellow leaf. And this one, this is also a zucchini plant. It's a darker green leaf, so it must be a different zucchini. I've already got zucchini on here. So I would say in another, I don't know, maybe a week or so I should have zucchini on here that I can cut and actually eat some of these zucchinis. So I got two of these things growing here now, and it just keeps blossoming. Of course, that's going to keep on going. Over here I've got a spaghetti squash. It's climbing up this fence here, and also it's climbing over into the in by the sunflower, so it just keeps on expanding. And then I've got a pumpkin plant here, and that's starting to crawl all over. And what I did about 2 weeks ago, I sprayed the whole garden with copper sulfate solution, and I did have some fungus starting to grow. It's all gone now. So if you want to get rid of your powdery mildew, which really can kill off your squash fast, spray it with copper sulfate. Also spray your tomato plants. It'll get rid of whatever attacks tomato plants too. It doesn't hurt to spray everything with it. Now over here I've got 3 Hubbard plants, squash plants. Besides the spaghetti squash, the Hubbard I've heard in Minnesota grows quite well. So I thought, well, I'll try the Hubbard. You only need 1 or 2 big Hubbards and you got all the squash you want. These things get just huge. Sometimes they'll be 10 pounds per squash, sometimes even bigger. So these are the 2, the 1 raised bed here and a raised bed here with my beans. Now these are the beans that are purple. They're easy to pick. They really produce quite well. When you cook them, they turn green. So the purple is just there for picking. It doesn't affect the flavor of the beans. So let's see here. And this is all fed by this one hose. And this one hose, I've got a tube here that goes along the ground. I've got a T in here, and that T feeds this bed, and then it goes over to the other 2 beds over here that have water in them, and that tube feeds those 2 beds. And of course there's a float. I'll show you the float system I've got right here. You see that little white float there, and it's got a float inside that plastic thing, and what that will do is when the water level gets down, that float just turns on the water, and then when it fills up, it shuts off automatically. And this whole hose here goes to a sand point that of course is free water, and it's good clean natural water. I didn't want to show this, but I do have 1 bed of 6 rows of carrots. It's a lot of carrots. The bad part about carrots is weeding them. It takes a long time to weed carrots. You can see I just started weeding the carrots. I've got maybe 1/3 of the bed done. I got another whole 2/3 of the bed to go yet. It's probably another 3 hours of work. It's very meticulous work, but anyway, that's a project I got to do yet. Now this is the bed that I put in first. Look how big this is. I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see better. That bed is about 10 foot long from this end to this end, and there's probably about maybe, I'm guessing roughly about 20 bags, maybe 18 bags total in that bed. There are 4 tomato plants, no actually 5 tomato plants in that bed, and there are 6, 7, 8, there's 8 cucumber plants. I'll show you that. Actually the cucumber plants right now are blossoming, and again I put that spray on that Larry Hall gave me. It promotes every single blossom will turn into something. So there's I counted maybe close to 30 blossoms here, just down in this section here, and so it should be 30 cucumbers coming here, and that's just on the first blossom. This thing's going to blossom all summer. What I did was, these are 7-gallon grow bags. Alright, made my own potting mix, and I got this fencing. It's got a plastic coating on it. Larry Hall recommended that. Picked that up at Home Depot. I cut it and was very careful not having anything sharp that would poke into this poly. That's the last thing you want to happen, is to poke a hole in that poly. And anyway, what happens is you can see they're climbing up this fence. And then what I did was I planted 3 more cucumber plants on the other side of it in the 7-gallon grow bags, and they're climbing up the other side of the fence. So that actually worked pretty good. So you only need to put up one fence, and the other side they can climb up on both sides of the fence. So when you get a strong wind, everything is stable. Nothing should tip over. All the tomato plants have cages, so they're supported very well. Also on these tomato plants, I topped them off, because if you don't top them off, they're just going to keep on growing big and you'll have very little fruit. But right now, as you can see, I've got lots of tomatoes coming on already. There's going to be many, many tomatoes coming on, and cucumbers. So I've got 4, there's only 4 tomato plants right here. These are red tomatoes. And then I've got one small pear tomato, but I'll show you that in a minute. This bag here is beets. So I'll have to thin those out. You have to thin out beets, otherwise they don't grow good. And we've already been having cucumbers to eat. Again, there's probably, I don't know how many cucumbers will be here, quite a few. This plant looks like we've already gotten quite a few cucumbers off this plant. But it's just incredible how this is growing. And then here's my big watermelon plant. And you can see this one is growing out here. Then I have one staked down here to kind of go out along here. I've got a long, nice wide area where the deer can't get to it, and these things can just spread and grow. And again, that's in a 7-gallon grow bag. You can see I got the wood chips in there. That helps keep the fungus from getting on the leaves. I'll probably spray everything one more time with copper sulfate. You know, it can't hurt them. It'll just keep the fungus out. Now I've got quite a few green pepper plants. I can never seem to grow these things. But this year, these things are really growing. So, what I did is I just put a bamboo stick in there to support them, otherwise they do bend over. And I got these round, let's see if I can find one here. Yeah, here it is. Of course, this is Larry Hall's idea. Put these little round things on and they stay right to the, there's one here too. See that? And so anyway, today is a little bit of a windy day, so I'm assuming we're going to get a little storm tonight. So I got lots of green peppers plants growing, and you can see these red tomatoes are already coming on. Lots of red tomatoes. And then this big thing here is non-GMO original seed, which I'm going to save some seeds from these. These are the small yellow pear tomatoes. Got this from my neighbor. She knows somebody that raises stuff that you keep the seeds from year to year. These are not normally in a store. But there are so many yellow pear, miniature pear tomatoes on here that I don't know if I can eat them all. But I sprayed this too with that blossom thing, so there's going to be a lot more than normal on there. And of course, here's my other cucumber plant back here that's climbing up this fence. And of course, this one is climbing up this fence. And you can see where I got my little connection right here for my T. Pick this up. You get my T connection right there. See that? and that's is what's feeding everything here. So what I do, I keep about maybe 1.5 inches of water down in this little pond, and then what I did to keep the mosquitoes out, or keep the mosquitoes down, is I took those mosquito dunks, they're like a little donut, cut them into 3 pieces, I put one at each end, one in the middle. There's no water flowing here, so what that does, animals could drink out of here, it's not going to hurt them. And what it does, it kills the mosquito larvae, but it's harmless to animals and to plants, so it does not hurt anything. And of course, when you get a downpour, the extra water comes out right here, and then you can see the water is down inside the little pond here, whatever you want to call it. And of course some more green pepper plants. I don't know why I put so many in. And I do need to put this cage around that small 5-gallon bag with the cucumber in it, so it can climb up something. So now I do have to plant this eggplant. Went to a nursery. I said, "Do you have any specials?" Because it's past, the season for stuff. And they said, "Well, you buy one, take as many as you want." Well, so I took a few, and I never grown eggplant before, but I'm gonna try to grow this eggplant. I got this 2-gallon grow bag. I thought, well, throw it in there, see what happens. Now there's 4 more tomato plants here. These are the bigger tomato plants. Those are the smaller ones. You see how big those are. I have not topped these yet. These are growing very fast. So when they get up there, I'll top them again, and they'll start blossoming and they're already blossoming somewhat. Now this cucumber plant has not blossomed yet, but it should start pretty soon. And I have a cucumber plant in the back here, as you can see. That will be climbing up the back here. These are more beets here, and of course I had to put a cabbage out in the open more. It was getting too crowded. And then the last bags I put in, I've got an eggplant, red cabbage. Let's see, I got 2 eggplants and 2 red cabbages. I've got let's see here, I got 3 red cabbages and 3 broccolis growing. So I don't know how that's going to turn out, but we'll see how it works. Then we'll go up this side here a little bit. I got 1 bag, I haven't put anything in it yet. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to put in it, but I'll put something in it. And then these cucumbers will climb up. It's already moving, so I got to actually get this up on the fence here. And so I got 2 more cucumber plants down here, and so I got 4 big tomato plants here, and I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3 more cucumber plants here, and of course more green peppers. So anyway, lots of cucumbers and tomatoes and green peppers and whatever else that'll be growing here. So another person that I know will be watching this video, her name is Valerie. I'm not going to give her last name, and just so you can see what's growing here, get ready for some stuff, because I'm going to give you all that you want of whatever you want to eat here. Now this, I would say this is probably about 3 feet high right now at least, if not close to 4 feet high. No, not quite 4 feet yet. It's getting there. It's pretty incredible how this grows. They get all the water they want. And another thing about this garden if you decide that you don't want your tomato plant to grow here, there's handles here. You can pick this up. I got a dolly, which I dolly it over, and I can stick it over in that bed if it's more open. That's filled up right now. In fact, I put a lot of my plants, I started them in this bed, and then I dollied them over to this bed and put them in this bed when that was all set up. Because sometimes you got to spread things out a little bit, get a little bit too crowded. And then of course I've got my strawberry bed over here. That's about a 20 foot long strawberry bed, and we've had lots of good strawberries out here this year. So then outside the fence here I'm going to put in, that's all dirt from the dugout beds. I'm going to board that up and make that a raised bed outside the fence of raspberries. From what I understand, you don't need to fence in raspberries. The deer will not touch them, will not bother with the raspberries. So I'm going to put that outside the fence, let that grow. So far we haven't had any deer around. I haven't seen, last year we had lots of deer. This year I've not seen one. And the word I got is that the DNR had let loose some new wolves from Montana. Maybe a little bit bigger and tougher, I don't know. But whatever, it's working. I think too many people were maybe getting ticks and getting their gardens ate up and flowers ate up. They probably got a lot of complaints, and you need to get the deer down a little bit. You see them out by the road. There's plenty of deer around, but we don't need them eating up gardens. They wouldn't get in here anyway. But the wife out on the front lawn, she gets her flowers ate up, so we use that liquid fence. That seems to really work quite well. Keeps the rabbits out too. Haven't seen any rabbits either. So that's the end of the video.